We are live for SCW Live once again, answering your questions in the wrestling community. So get yourselves involved, throw your questions in nice and early. We'll give you a shout out and give you an answer here on the episode today. I'm joined by Anthony, rated R for Wrestling. He'll be joining me straight after this. So welcome back to the show and welcome, Anthony. How are you doing, my man?
Hey, what's going on, Steve? Good to be here. I'm doing great.
Awesome, man. Well, just while we're waiting for people to get involved then with their questions, we've got a few already in advance, so we'll be answering those as well. But first off, for people that don't know you, Anthony, tell us a bit about yourself and tell us a bit about your channel.
Yeah, my name's Anthony. My channel is Rated R for Wrestling. I do the reviews for all the AEW and WWE shows along with my brother in the Rated R for Wrestling studios. Go check it out. We have an interesting, background and everything like that and set up for our review videos. I do daily, Monday through Friday, news and rumors in the wrestling world at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time every Monday through Friday. And I drop the occasional topical opinion video. I got a really cool one dropping hopefully tomorrow about Shawn Michaels. Make sure you tune into that one. If you aren't following me, please do subscribe to the channel. And that's it.
Awesome stuff indeed, man. And I will say to those that aren't subscribed to Anthony and Rated R for Wrestling, highly recommend it. Fantastic channel. And what I'll do is at the end of this video, once we've gone off live, I will leave the link in the description so you can go straight to his channel and you can go straight there and drop a subscribe. And like I say, fantastic content. And usually as well, loves to throw a retro review. And I've been very fortunate to join you on many a live stream on your channel. So it's very nice to actually return the favor and have you here today. And we're going to be diving into lots of questions. In fact, we've got a couple come flying in already. So let's go straight in with the live ones, shall we, very quickly. We've got Martin Correa here. And Martin, thanks for checking this out. He says, how are you guys doing today? Are you excited for Double or Nothing? Anthony, how are you feeling about the show this Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, Double or Nothing I am excited for. I wish it would have been on Saturday. I don't like the Sunday AEW pay-per-views, but Saturday, it would have been better on Saturday. But I am excited. Not too much for the Triple Threat Championship match, but I do want to check out, obviously, Mox and Kingston versus the Bucks, the Stadium Stampede, obviously, and my girl Britt Baker hopefully taking home that AEW Women's Championship.
Absolutely. That's the top three matches I'm looking forward to as well there. So no, we've great minds think alike, as they say. But Anthony, you said there a second there that you were preferring the events being on Saturday in comparison to Sunday. Now, obviously, we're on opposite sides of the pond. I'm in the European side. UK time, it's always on at stupid o'clock in the morning for us when we have to do these things. And of course, Sunday to Monday is a big difference from Saturday to Sunday usually. But from an American side of things, does it affect you with it being on a Sunday evening, 8 o'clock to 11? Does it still affect your Monday too much of it being in that time zone?
No, not really. It doesn't really because we always have like our big sporting events too. We're always following that time frame as well. Like the Super Bowls at that time ends a little bit earlier. Big basketball games, baseball games, they happen on Sunday night. Sunday night seems to be like in the States like a big sporting event day for it. But Saturday it's a little nicer. I mean, you can drink a little bit, get a little drunk, wake up the next morning late. You don't have to worry about going to work, type of thing like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's always that leftover pizza for breakfast. So you can't really complain when it comes to that. So yeah, no, I'm totally down with that. And I mean, as it's just from my perspective as well, of course, it's much easier if you wake up on that Sunday, you've got a bit more freedom as well to, check if there's anything you've missed or whatever. It usually seems to be better. But hey, it is what it is. And Double or Nothing being on Sunday. And hopefully we'll be feeling lucky when it comes to Sunday night. We'll be giving ourselves a very good show indeed. Looking forward to it at Daily's Place. And Martin Guerrero does have a second question for us. He says, here comes the money question. It's not Shane McMahon, but where could you see Finn Balor's future heading? NXT, Raw or SmackDown? Of course, when it comes to Finn Balor, he did lose this rematch to Karrion Kross this week, so he's no longer got the opportunity to be NXT champion. What would you like to see happen next? Do you want to see him move back to Raw or SmackDown, or do you want to see him perhaps carry on in NXT, maybe renew rivalries with people like, perhaps maybe Kyle O'Reilly?
Yeah, so this is interesting because my brother during our NXT review, he brought this up to me because I was like, I would like him to go down into the mid-card North American title spot, maybe win that title on NXT and stay there. But he said with Raw looking for more stars and SmackDown and the call-ups they've been talking about, more NXT UK call-ups, he can come up. But for me, if he does go up, I don't want to see him go up, but if he does, he needs to stay in the same, do exactly what he's been doing in NXT now on the main roster. If he doesn't, it's not going to work. You're going to go back to Finn the way it was before. and I don't think that's a good thing. Maybe they go to the Demon, but I just think if he's gonna go up, he needs to be the Finn Balor he is currently in his incarnation right now in NXT, and just copy and paste it onto SmackDown or Raw. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, I feel the same as you. I think that if Finn Balor is to stay put, I think it would be good for him to put one or two more people over those sort of. He's a real established star, you know. So to actually give the rub to someone else like Kyle O'Reilly could do with that win back at last, in my opinion, before he was to move on. But I mean, if that was the case where he was to go now to Raw, like you say, copy and paste this Finn Balor, put that Finn Balor on Raw. Lashley is crying out for an opponent. Maybe even Drew McIntyre perhaps could be crying out for that sort of opponent, because Finn Balor kind of blurs that line. So he is a babyface, but he's not that sort of, how can we say, squeaky clean babyface, if you want. He's that kind of guy that, he will blur the lines and play that tweener role quite to perfection. So depending on what they need him to do on Raw or SmackDown, it could work really, really well. But for me, I think Raw is in more desperate need for him right now than SmackDown. But saying that, Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns, wouldn't that be kind of awesome to see as well?
Awesome stuff. Yeah, definitely. That would be so awesome. I love Finn Balor's right now. I love his intensity that he has in his current character. Mix that up with Roman and Roman's savageness. I think it'll just be awesome. Now, the size difference, you can play that to the strength of Finn Balor fighting from underneath, similar to how AJ, Daniel Bryan, and Finn Balor face Brock Lesnar. Like, they're getting pummeled. They get a little bit of an opening and they capitalize on it. I think they could do a lot of that kind of stuff with Finn and Roman.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I think that sounds pretty darn awesome. We've got West Coast Podcast in the house. How you doing? Thanks for checking it out, Zach's for us now. And it says, who the hell is Jimmy Smith? And would you rather they've actually unused talent switch out of the third announcer role? So yeah, Jimmy Smith is the new announced play-by-play person that's going to be on Raw instead of Adnan Virk. And of course, I did have a question as well from Don Mills, which I'll come to as well regarding that. But what's first off your thoughts of Adnan Virk losing his spot on Raw? And I mean, I don't know too much about this Jimmy Smith either. So Anthony, do you have anything you could give us a bit of an update on that?
Okay, so when it comes to Adnan Virk, right? I mean, he just never fit the role. It just never really fit. His voice didn't really carry in that realm of professional wrestling. His excitement seemed phoned in. It didn't seem genuine when he would yell and his voice would go up. He obviously is not a fan of the product or knowledgeable that much of the product. Jimmy Smith, now when I first heard Jimmy Smith, I thought of three different people, and that was two football players and Jimmy Smits, the actor who was in Star Wars. Those are three guys that came to my mind. But then I saw Jimmy Smith. I've seen him before, and I didn't even realize that he was in last week's NXT Balor Cross video package when they interviewed Paul Heyman and Pat McAfee. He was the third guy, and I was like, who is that bald guy? And come to find out, it's Jimmy Smith. It's cool. I mean, he has some knowledge of the wrestling industry, I believe, so that helps out. And he has that Bellator UFC announcing prowess, so I think it helps him out in the end. I think it'll be all right. I mean, it's better than Virk, to be honest with you. It's not saying much, but
no, of course. I mean, of course, when you had the Viking experience, I think was used then. I think he actually called Drew McIntyre the Celtic Warrior on his first appearance on Raw, which that's not going down well when it's one of your main eventers on that Raw side. So no, I'm totally with you. I think Adnan Virk, it just sadly didn't work out. I did think he was improving as weeks were going by, but it wasn't improving enough, which was it was a shame to see. But clearly, the role hasn't worked out for either side. And hopefully, as you said, this Jimmy Smith, if he's got background of this and seems to know a bit of what he's talking about, this seemed pretty good. Actually, I remember now you talking about this clip that we saw on NXT last week, that fantastic video package building up Finn Balor and Karrion Kross. Hopefully, this guy will bring something to the table and will be a breath of fresh air for Monday Night Raw. But I got a pre-question that came in from Don Mills, so I wanted to throw this one out there. He said, with him being released, he was actually, this was before that news was announced, but he said, does Corey Graves and Byron Saxton have what it takes to anchor the show as a twosome, or did they actually need Jimmy Smith? Do they need that third person on Raw, or could Graves and Saxton carry the show by themselves?
That combo, I don't think so, because I don't think Graves is a play-by-play, and neither is Saxton. They both play their current roles well, especially even Saxton. I mean, Saxton's corny, he's campy, but he's there for that reason. I don't think either of them can carry the play-by-play down the middle like that. They're more of a little bit of flavor, like a little bit of sizzle on the steak, where the meat and potatoes is the guy in the middle who's a Michael Cole, a Jim Ross, even a Tom Phillips. I always forget the guy on Vic Joseph on NXT, like that. Yeah. He's the meat potatoes guy there. The two others are like this little bit of the sizzle, the seasoning on the steak. So I think they need a guy who controls and guides everything in that way.
Absolutely. I think they need that sort of person as well. It's okay with the 3-person team. Do you know what? A 2-man team works really well as well. I
Yes,
always
it
think
does.
that's the best work when you have that. But with Michael Cole and Pat McAfee, Michael Cole plays almost his role and the Byron Saxton role if you want. He'll do the babyface stuff as well. Of course, there was that infamous run in 2010 and 11, which we won't talk about on this live stream here. But still, looking at it, there is that kind of vibe there. And I know what you're saying there. And Raw right now with those two, they do their roles to perfection, but a third person is needed in place. I still feel sorry for Tom Phillips. I think Tom Phillips was good at his job. I don't think he needed to be taken out necessarily of that role. But unfortunately, it is what it is. And we just have to see where it's going to go next. But just one more thing as we got here on Adnan Virk right now. So we'll call Martin Carrero back up here. He says that now WWE has let Adnan Virk go. Was he just not the right person for the spot? Well, I think we both said more or less that already. But should WWE have focused around commentators that have experience already? So I guess what he's saying is, should we have looked really for Vic Joseph, or should we have looked perhaps someone, maybe Tom Phillips, to bring back and say, look, we made a mistake, Tom, you're back in the spot? Or are they right to look for someone outside of the box and bring someone else in?
I think they're always looking for that outside crowd to hopefully carry with the announcer. So Adnan Virk, I've seen him on NHL Network, on MLB Network previously, doing whatever shows that they have on there, not calling games, but doing the show. So I guess they wanted to have people maybe that are familiar with Adnan and just see, oh, he's doing wrestling. Let me hear what it sounds like. He sounds like on wrestling. And they kind of tune in. I think they want to get the MMA crowd with Jimmy Smith to come over, at least some of them maybe, to see how he does and how he operates there. I just right now, I forgot to answer Zach's question. What he said about using an unused talent as a third announcer. I think if it wasn't Samoa Joe, I don't think there's really anybody else that kind of takes that role for the unused talent. But in terms of them using people that have experience, I think that's why they keep bringing outside people in. Now, the problem is the outside person needs to know wrestling, right? So that's the problem with Adnan Virk. They're bringing an outside guy who doesn't know wrestling, and that's why it failed. I think if Jimmy Smith knows wrestling or somewhat, I think it'll work okay.
Absolutely, indeed. No, I think you're spot on with that comment there. And what I really want to know is that, Anthony, why haven't you not been called yet? I think you do a great job on commentary.
I mean, I couldn't handle him yelling in my ear all the time, and I too much. That's probably my biggest issue right there.
I have my own little nitpicks when I do my own streams as well, so don't worry, man. But I think you do a fantastic job there. But we've got Wrestling by Ruldridge in house there. Aaron, how you doing, my good friend? He says, evening, lads. So who do we think is going to be the Joker entrant in the Casino Battle Royale this weekend on Double or Nothing? That seems like a money question there, something that's perfect to go with casinos. I mean, I had a couple of ideas for it, Anthony, but I wonder maybe if I go to you on this one first.
It's got to be somebody. I don't think it's going to be anybody huge because they don't want to take this. They have so many people on the roster right now, so I don't think it helps to have somebody massive. I always wanted them like to do something with Jeff Cobb. Remember, Jeff Cobb was there for like a week or two, and he just never did anything. Maybe Jeff Cobb's the guy who kind of takes this spot. But there's really nobody that comes to mind really that's going to shock anybody. I think it's going to be. I would love for it to be an Impact guy, Moose, or somebody like that. So that crossover. I mean. Cheap plug. I made the video, the Impact AEW partnership not working, right? And I made a video about it. And it's just the fact that nobody from Impact is showing up on AEW. I think it's a perfect spot for a Rich Swann to make just show up there. He should be showcased, a talent. We talked about this in detail when we did our what was it? I think we did a retro review of Backlash or something like that, right? It was, and we went to this whole tangent about ECW and WWE and how that partnership kind of worked out and how Impact is just, it felt like afterthought when it comes to AEW, and their partnership really has nothing to do. It's like a partnership just made for Kenny Omega and nobody else, and that's what it seems like. And I feel like the Joker should be Moose. It should be Rich Swann. Anybody from Impact to feel like AEW actually cares about the partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And it was one of the suggestions I had there because Impact could say, look, we've lost our world championship. We've lost, that title. And what better way to try and get back at you and say, we're going to take yours. We're coming in and saying, let's get it back. And Rich Swann, for me, would be the perfect guy. I mean, Moose has got his opportunity against all odds. Maybe he'll try and win the Impact Championship. But, I mean, Sami Callihan could be another one. It would be a fantastic shout. Exactly. I think Sami in the crossover would be awesome. But one outside bet as well, and I did use this as my final prediction when I did the predictions of Mex yesterday. I suggested the idea, of course, Kenny Omega will be at Triple Mania later this year. And who will he be facing on that show? Andrade. And I think Andrade would be a big shout if he was to come in and be a partner. But like you say, a big name, yes, will be kind of fun to see, but they've got such a heavy roster right now. But at the same time, Matt Sardell was the guy that was there last year, and that's, I mean, it kind of slipped, really, didn't it? But
Yeah,
it wasn't quite. It wasn't quite. I think the connection we wanted. So I think it needs to be something bigger than that. But like you say, something outside of the box, that forbidden door, even someone from New Japan, something like that, I think would connect really, really well. So no, I think that's a fantastic question there, and yeah, we'll have to see how that one's going to play out. But we've got Dom's Mills question back there from before, but let's get Jonesy, because Jonesy left in a couple of questions early doors as well, so let's get those ones on now. Jonesy Chat Wrestling says, who do you guys want to see beat Karrion Kross for the NXT Championship? I mean, for me right now, I can't see him losing that belt anytime soon, but when it does come round, Anthony, who is the right guy to win that championship?
I think currently the only guy that makes any sense whatsoever is Walter. To be honest with you, I think if Walter would lose his UK title, he comes over maybe for, you know, not SummerSlam, but maybe Survivor Series time, that takeover, or around a big show, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble. I don't think WrestleMania, I think it's a little bit too far down the road, but you know, I think Walter would be a perfect guy because size wise, physicality wise, it makes the most sense. But other than that, there's nobody really on the roster. Pete Dunne, yeah, he's cool, he's awesome in the ring. I just don't see him really winning that from the way they've booked Karrion Kross. Just the way they booked him as a monster. So it has to be somebody that's equal to that, or it has to be very fluky. So can Adam Cole fluke, shock the world and beat him? Can Johnny Gargano do the same? Kyle O'Reilly, guys like that. I just don't see anybody on the roster currently who has that opportunity or that chance to do it, other than a guy like Walter. If he ever does, show up in NXT and try to challenge for it.
I'd love to see Walter be the guy to do it. Like you say, it feels like a dream match, doesn't it? Walter versus Karrion Kross. I love the idea of that. I personally feel Kyle O'Reilly would be the right guy that could do it, because he's kind of got that kind of, you said that fluky side, but he's also got that heart and desire, not that guy that would quit in that sort of scenario until he could get the win. The problem is, I think he's getting his title shot a little too soon. I think it's coming for him versus Karrion Kross in your house. That's what I think will be the main event. And if that's the case now, it's far too soon for Kyle O'Reilly to do that. So I think the way that Kyle O'Reilly could do so, if it wasn't one-on-one, is a multi-man match. Now, I know we're not all a fan necessarily of that, but if it's the triple threat, the fatal four-way, I think that's another way that you can get that title off Karrion Kross when you eventually want to move him, say, to a Raw or to a SmackDown. But no, there's definitely some options out there. Maybe NXT hasn't got the guy on TV yet. Maybe it's not like a Parker Bordeaux if he hits the ground running when he does come in. But, it's a long way off at the moment until I think we even have to worry about that. But you mentioned Survivor Series a minute ago, so let's get another one of Jonesy's questions in that he had there for us, which was, which 4 guys from Raw, 4 from SmackDown, 4 from NXT, who would you book in an elimination match, and who would you have win? I'm guessing this would be a Survivor Series style match. Now, that's 12 guys there, so I don't know if we should share some of them out, maybe share a brand each or something. So, I mean, what's your favorite show right now to watch each week, Raw, SmackDown, or NXT?
It's tough because it's between SmackDown and NXT, but I'll pick SmackDown because it's all Roman Reigns and he leads the team by far, right? So I pick Roman, Seth, Cesaro, and Big E. That's
a solid, formidable 4 team there for you. And of course, that leaves me with the short straw of Raw then, if we're doing the main roster then of each side there. So I will go with, of course, our champion right now, the almighty Bobby Lashley. He's going to have to, we'll have like a wild card tag team like 1995. Let's get Drew McIntyre on there, because he's not in a championship match, but he still belongs around that main event area. I think Sheamus, because I think that keeps you happy, Anthony, and AJ Styles would definitely keep you happy. So I think that seems like a well-rounded team there. Potentially Keith Lee could be on the back burner if he comes back onto TV, but at the moment he's not. So those will be my 4 guys. So shall we, as we struggle at NXT, shall we pick 2 each?
Yeah, sure. Pick 2 each.
I'll let you go first then.
Okay. I'll cheap out. I'll pick Karrion Kross. And I'll pick Pete Dunne. I think those 2 guys, yeah.
I think that's solid choices there. Well, obviously UE guys would kind of feel like the of how they don't get on anymore. That's not a way to go forth. So I will go with Kyle O'Reilly, as Adam Cole isn't on TV right now. And as an outside wild card, let's go Santos Escobar, because I think he's doing a phenomenal job right now on NXT. So if that was a 4-on-4-on-4, I think the question is now, I think if it was me, it would have to be SmackDown. I think looking at the team you've picked, I think SmackDown with Roman Reigns, I can't look past it. How would you feel?
Yeah, no, I would probably pick SmackDown as well. I just think star power, Roman Reigns kind of just runs everything and everybody. So he's like the head of the table. He's the head of WWE. He's the face of WWE. He's the main guy. But picking up on the Santos Escobar thing, I think that's an awesome pick for Santos Escobar. I think Santos Escobar is just absolute Brinks truck money. I think that guy is gold. He is absolute money. He has it, right? Like they always talk about it. Santos Escobar is a man who has it. I really enjoy everything he does. And the fact that he has that crossover, Spanish and English, speaks tremendous English. I think that's just great. But I think SmackDown does win that match, yeah.
Yeah, I think SmackDown does. And I think, like you said, the Santos Escobar, I think he's got a very, very bright future. But we've been talking about Adam Cole as well. So Aaron's back on here with us right now. He says, where do you think Adam Cole will land? Surprised there hasn't been any storyline progression between himself and Kyle O'Reilly in recent weeks. I am actually too as well. I think we're biding our time. And I think I'm going to jump ahead, if you don't mind, Anthony, on this one. Because I mentioned, I think, in your house, I think we've got Cross versus O'Reilly as the main event. I think Adam Cole is going to cost O'Reilly that match, and I think it continues on that rivalry there. And I think then if Roderick Strong comes back in, Bobby Fish is back, I think we can start working towards that Undisputed Era Fatal 4-Way. But that's my opinion. How do you feel, Anthony, on this one?
That's a good call. Yeah, I could definitely see that going down. Adam Cole costing O'Reilly the match. Now, the issue is like this past Tuesday, I'm sorry, you have Bobby Fish like being attacked by Lorcan and Pete Dunne. And where was Kyle O'Reilly this entire time, right? So could that cause another issue there, causing the Fatal 4-Way to come together? I could definitely see that. Adam Cole is just like, he had the interview, right, by the pool. Yeah. He seemed to be like working on something new for his character, or a little bit of a change, talking about you're going to see the best Adam Cole you've ever seen. Where is he? Like, right? So like, do you lose anything from doing that promo and then never appearing afterwards? Is there something lost there? I think they should have capitalized just a little tiny bit, have him show up at least once or twice between that, and give us an idea as to what he means by the different Adam Cole, the best Adam Cole. And I think maybe they were just biding their time to kind of set up O'Reilly, Cole, and the rest of the Undisputed Era by him costing O'Reilly the match.
Yeah, I think it could be down. Like you say there, we've kind of been left teasing and waiting on what this Adam Cole will be. And I think when it does come back, it's probably going to come back with a bang. And we're probably going to see from there what we're going to get with this Adam Cole character. And hopefully we haven't got to wait too much longer. I'd say In Your House would be a perfect place to bring him back. We've got Martin Carrillo then. It says, when do you guys think Io Shirai will come back to NXT? Will she get her rematch against Raquel Gonzalez? Fantastic point. We've not seen Io Shirai either for a long time now. Do you think that Io Shirai comes back to NXT? I think with the rumor of the call-ups, is Io going to be one of those that's actually going to Raw or SmackDown?
Yes, I do think she's going to end up going probably to Monday Night Raw. No, I'm sorry. I don't know. That's tough because you have Asuka and you have her. So like you could do a feud with them, right? Or do you put her on SmackDown? SmackDown need her more. I think Raw needs her more right now because they seem to have the rotation of the same three women over and over again: Ripley, Asuka, and Charlotte, right? So it's like that trio that keep fighting. So I could definitely see that. I don't see her coming back to NXT because I think NXT's like next top woman star is Frankie Monet. From her debut, just pretty much Taya Valkyrie out there is just with a different name, right? She's still with the La Huera Loca. She's still yelling, acting that same bravado that she has from the Taya Valkyrie stuff. So I think she is the only person I see currently on the roster that will eventually face Raquel Gonzalez. I just don't think Io Shirai needs to come back to NXT. I think she's kind of outgrown it. If that's possible, it just seems that she's outgrown it and seems like she should be taking on Sasha Banks, Bayley, Bianca, Rhea again, stuff like that. She needs to be to that level already. And the women's division is so much different compared to the men's on NXT. Men's NXT, those guys can stay there forever and nobody will bat an eye. Everybody would be totally cool with them staying forever. But the women, for some reason, it's just strong division NXT that they feel like they have to be kind of brought up because they're so good and it's such a strong division. It just seems like they kind of spin their wheels after a while in NXT and they need to just move up to kind of go on to greener pastures because the division is so strong.
Yeah, no, I think you're bang on there. And I mean, for me, I'm always been frightened about Io going to the main roster because I don't want it to end up being someone that's going to be buried, that's not going to be treated right, sitting and catering. But like you say, it does feel like she's outgrown NXT a little bit. There's a couple of matches there. You mentioned Frankie Monet, definitely someone that could be a match. I think Sarai would be good to actually get Sarai over, I think, with the crowd more to do that big match. But at the same time, though, like you say, Raquel Gonzalez has got plenty of new challengers. And there definitely is going to be one or two women called up. I can't see them not actually going to the NXT women's division. And I think Io Shirai is one of the most strongest and likely female candidates that will be called up to either Raw or SmackDown. So I agree with you. I don't think she's going to go for that rematch against Raquel Gonzalez anytime soon. But watch her just turn back in the next week or two in NXT and prove us totally wrong.
Yes.
But Half K in the house, thank you, Half K, for joining us. He says, I hope we're doing well. More of an opinion than a question. Do you remember Scott Stanford, still with WWE, but mostly on commentary on WWE Superstars in the early 2010s? And yeah, I do. And occasionally he does a lot of the stuff. Usually in the UK, we get like these on BT Sports or Sky Sports, you get these like little package things that you're going to get for your upcoming pay-per-view, that it might just go over a couple of old vintage things. And it's always Scott Stanford that's actually presenting it. He's got a very likable, nice voice. And it's interesting to see that he's always been in that role and not actually used more, I suppose, on live WWE TV. Are you more familiar with Scott Stanford?
The name sounds extremely familiar, but I can't put a face to it or a voice. I would have to actually just search right now and just see the face, and I remember who it is. But yeah, like the guys that they have internally, a lot of them are really, really good, and I think they should be given that opportunity. But the problem is they want that crossover. They want those. I don't know how much of an announcer brings fans with them, or how much people are fans of announcers that will kind of travel with them. But yeah, it's definitely, if a guy like that, if I could put a face to it, let me just search it real quick, because I just cannot remember this guy's the way he looks.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, while you're doing that, I just quickly read the rest of the comment we got out, because Half K goes on to say that he's got a really good voice and also has a sports broadcasting background. Easy for me to say. Feels like Virk and Smith should start out on main events or another show before being brought up to Raw right away. And I think that that's a really key point there, because would Adnan Virk have actually done better had he started on a low-key show like 205 Live and worked himself up the ladder, say, perhaps 3-6 months down the line?
Yes, I do think. I think that's what hurt him. The fact that he's not accustomed to the product, you could just tell that he wasn't, right? Like, you could just tell that he just didn't really know much about the product itself. He needs to have just done like dark matches, and just have Vince and everybody else hear him do it, and then, go from there, or have him on main event, have him on 205. Scott Stanford, I just searched him. I know exactly. I know exactly who he is. He is a good guy. Yeah, he's a good announcer, and he has that, like you said, a voice that's a pleasant voice to listen to. Very professional, comes off very well on television. And he's been around the business, so he obviously knows the performers. Knowing the performers, I think, is the most important thing. You don't always have to call out the moves. Look at Vince McMahon in the 90s. He never called out a move whatsoever. He just said, "Oh, what a maneuver." That's it, right? Yeah. But he was awesome because he had, he's obviously Vince McMahon. You know who he is, but being accustomed to the performers in the ring, I think, really helps. And they should have done that. They should have had Virk on one of those shows so he can become accustomed to the way the matches are played out, everything like that, and get used to Vince McMahon in his ear. I think that's the biggest thing. Having Vince McMahon in your ear like that, feeding you stuff. If you had practice beforehand and you kind of got the gears going in that, I think you would have been better off.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like you say, it's almost baby steps before taking big steps and going for that run, isn't it? Because, we probably think maybe we could do a good job on commentary. But like you say, as soon as you've got someone down your ear telling you what you do every second of every moment of every show, and perhaps you're not so as experienced on it, especially if you don't know wrestling like the fan base, I suppose, does, it's quite a daunting prospect. So, yeah, it's a good suggestion. Scott Stanford would be another one that perhaps could have been, and he's still employed by WWE. So getting back on TV in some format, I do like what he does. It's a great shout from Half K there. Martin Carrillo, do you think that Moose has re-signed already with Impact, or hasn't all, since he's denying all reports? I'm not aware of Moose re-signing with Impact. I know that the contract is coming up. I'm nervous for Impact Wrestling fans that they may be losing Moose, because he did suggest on a tweet that where he's going next, he put in the big capital letters the N, the X, and the T. But I always thought maybe he might go to AEW. So I don't know. He's definitely teasing us a lot of what his future is going to hold. Perhaps he's trying to get some buzz around the name. Do you know any updates? And if you don't, then where do you want to see Moose end up? Do you want to see him stay in Impact, or perhaps go to somewhere new?
I know the stuff that you're referring, like, the little teases he's had and he's denying the reports. That I've heard. I don't know any other information as to if he's staying or if he's going. But I think I said this before. I think there's going to be an exodus from Impact. A lot of guys leaving, especially since Kenny comes in and takes the titles, right? Like, I think people kind of resent that a little bit, right? They're kind of like, he's coming in, he's taking our titles. We don't even get a chance to be on their show. I think Moose is definitely gone. Whether he goes to NXT or Impact, AEW, I think it's probably his best move, and I think he's definitely gone. I don't think he's going to stay. I think a lot of people are going to leave. I can see the Good Brothers eventually leaving and going to AEW for full time. Especially after the partnership's over. I think there's going to be just an exodus of guys that have been there for a while who feel probably like, this is not really going anywhere and we need to get out of here. And I think Moose is going to be the number one guy unless he takes the title off of Kenny, which I don't think he will. If he loses that match, he's definitely not. You definitely know he's not resigning. He's out. He's going to NXT or he's going to AEW. Definitely, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what I'm going to say now is that I wouldn't be surprised if the next week or two that Kenny Omega ends up where he puts his career on the line, Moose, for that match, win title or don't, because he's been with the company for 5 years. Really put your money where your mouth is. What are you going to do? Can you win this belt? Can you take it from Kenny Omega? I agree with you. I think he's out the door. And it's a shame to see because for Impact, they're great at building new stars, but keeping them, that's the hard part. They tend to move on to pastures new, very sadly. But Wrestling by Walter is going to say that he agrees with you, Anthony, that Walter is the only man to take out Cross. Do you lads reckon we'll ever see an active NXT superstar win the Royal Rumble? Great question. We've never seen it. It's something we could have perhaps seen at one point with Shayna Baszler, actually, back in the day. She was an NXT superstar, was in the final two, the closest we've got. But do you think will ever happen? It definitely would be newsworthy.
I think I think it will happen, but I think if that person wins it, they go for a main roster title rather than the NXT championship. I think the superstar could win it. I think there's a strong possibility that could happen eventually. NXT person winning either the men's or the women's, but I think the title they choose to go for is going to be a main roster one.
I agree with you. And I think there is a shout that perhaps someone in the women's division could do it at some point because there's so many NXT women that go in the Royal Rumble. But if there's a men's guy to do it, we've already talked about it in this video. I think Karrion Kross would be that right guy if one guy was to do it. I think Kross would be the guy. Would you?
Yeah, I definitely think if I had to choose like right now, like life on the line, I'm picking Kross as that guy. Yeah.
I think so as well there. Well, just quickly before we go to the other questions, we know we've got Noob and Cohen House saying, good evening, gentlemen. How are we doing? We are doing very well. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on the stream. And just very quickly as well, we do have one more question that came from Jonesy. So let's just put that in and we'll then go back to just strictly the live feed after that. He says that if you was booking Retribution, who would you have had in the roles and how would you reveal the leader? So Anthony, I'm going to put this question onto you, my friend. How would you have rescued and made Retribution a thing that would have lasted longer than a few months on WWE TV?
Okay, so the Retribution thing, I don't think it was the members that caused the problem. I think it's the way they looked, right? The hokey names, the hokey masks, and the get-ups. I think if they would have kept the regular names or changed them, but to regular people name, like not Mace and not T-Bar and Slapjack, those type of names, and then not use the hokey masks, I think they would have been fine in that aspect. But I think that what killed them was the moment, because they appeared as like a rebel group that wanted to destroy WWE. The minute they said on live television, they got a contract with Monday Night Raw, the gimmick was dead. The gimmick is dead at that point. Have them go from brand to brand. Don't give them a specific brand to be on. Have them wreak a ton of chaos, work it till a Survivor Series, and you have the Survivor Series match similar to Nexus, but just don't have them lose like Nexus lost. I think that would have been the better idea to go with. I think the Mustafa Ali reveal was solid because it tied up a loose end that WWE tends to not do when they tied up the loose end with the hacker. The hacker, SmackDown hacker, they tied that up, and I thought that was smart. I did like the reveal when he was there going to help out the Hurt Business against Retribution. Kind of just turns around, solid reveal. I think that part was fine. I just think the fact that they signed an exclusive contract, that was the nail in the coffin, especially, and on top of the fact they had the stupid names and the stupid masks and stuff like that.
I think I agree with a lot of the points there. If you'd have gone with the names as what they are, and perhaps, I mean, they could have perhaps, instead of having stupid masks, continue with the hooded thing they were doing for a long time. Like you say, get the reveals one by one, almost not to copy Aces and Eights, but one being revealed here, one being revealed there. And I would have liked to have seen them grown in members and Retribution being the idea of that these people, not just that had come in from outside of WWE, but actually convincing other superstars to continue to join them, almost like an NWO kind of thing, but actually get to the Survivor Series. Like I say, rather than winning contracts, getting control over maybe a show or both shows or something that makes them really seem like a proper threat to change the core of what we'd had with WWE. I think that would have been a fun way they could have gone with it. But sadly, like you say, the second they had contracts and then they were fed to the Hurt Business week after week and getting beaten quite easily. Even guys like T-Bar just were not being booked that strong. I think that's when you knew that even the heavy guys couldn't beat the lower card guys. And Slapjack since you hear the name Slapjack, it doesn't connect, does it? Let's be fair. So
Now,
yeah, sadly, it didn't
quickly
work.
touching on something that you said, right? Before we wrap the retribution thing up. Remember they had 1 million members. There was a ton of other people that were just standing around them that had hoods on. What happened to that? Like, what was the point of that? You just got rid of it completely when they signed contracts. That's just another thing. It's continuity that kind of just throws me out of it. It's just that there's no continuity there.
Absolutely, and I missed the 2020 version of Chainsaw Charlie. Where did he go to? He was fun, wasn't he, for a while? You know, like we had all these sort of ideas, and it just felt like they had 1 or 2 ideas that worked, but didn't have enough substance to keep it carrying over, which is just a shame, really. But like you say, it could have been fun. It could have worked better, but sadly, it wasn't to be. But we'll go back to the live questions then, and Martin Carrillo then asking us on Violent by Design winning the Impact Tag Team titles, and was it the right move to do it? I was so excited when I saw this on the end of Impact last week, and it just was a shock because Rhino had that trophy to cash in for the championship match. Finjuice were going to be taking a break from Impact once again. They were going to go off to New Japan. Impact, another championship that was not going to be in and around the company all the time. I felt it was the right move because it gave a win back to Impact Wrestling. For me, I thought this was a solid decision. I'm really pleased that Violent by Design, they needed championships to give that stable just that little bit of credibility, especially as Eric Young looks like he's out of the ring for a while now. It ticked a lot of the boxes for me. This almost felt like a Money in the Bank cash-in. I really, really enjoyed it. Anthony, how did you feel about Violent by Design winning those Impact Tag Team titles?
Yeah, it's the right move to make because, again, how many titles are you going to take away from the company, right? Like, you have outside guys coming in and taking your titles. Unless you're going to create a storyline built around that, you might as well just take that title off those guys if they're going back to Japan. I mean, imagine if they're going back to, let's say they're going to NWA. It's not that far, but they're going all the way back to Japan with travel restrictions and all that stuff like that. Like, them to come back, it's going to be, you're never going to see those titles again. So it's smart to give it to guys like this, especially Rhino. I mean, shout out to Rhino. He's got a tag team title. Shout out to him. He's been around forever. Very nice guy. So it's good to see him winning that. And you're right, with Eric Young kind of like going to be out for a while, it's good. Give these guys stuff to do. They need that. Like, you could have guys come in and feud with them, but stop giving your titles to other companies if they're never going to see them again.
Absolutely. And just a quick touch as well on Rhino himself there. I mean, of course, I think the idea originally was for Rhino and Heath. They've come up with a new creative twist of the way to do that. Heath can come back and try and win those championships when he comes back. That would make a lot of sense to do as well. So, no, there's lots of different ideas of how they can go with it, and I thought it was pretty darn exciting. Half K with us now. Which members of Hit Row do you see winning titles first? Keep up the great work, guys. Thank you very much, Half K. I think that Hit Row, they seem pretty darn cool, and they seem to be after every championship. They're not going to muck around here in NXT. I feel that Swerve would be the most likely favorite to win the North American Championship, perhaps, but Adonis perhaps could win the Cruiserweight Championship. There's lots of different avenues they could go. What do you want to see first? Could they win all the gold at some point, Hit Row?
I could see them winning all the gold minus the NXT championship, right? I see Swerve as a solid guy to be that mid-card champion. Now, he called out the North American Championship, I believe it was last week when Bronson Reed won. He cut a promo beforehand saying he's watching. Now, he said this week he's watching the NXT championship. I don't think he's ever going to win that title. I think he's a mid-card guy. He's a solid North American champion. I can see him definitely winning that. Ashanti and AJ Francis. AJ Francis throws me out of it because he's on that Hidden Treasures A&E show, and he's so like kind of like a big lovable guy in that when he seems like a sweet guy, and then here he's acting completely different, right? So it kind of throws me out. There's like that kayfabe, right? So like that wall is broken there. So that's my problem with AJ Francis. I like the role he's playing though, and I could see them becoming. I don't know if I can see them two becoming tag team champions, but definitely vying for those titles. I don't know if I see them winning it. I just think the only person out of this group that maybe wins something is Swerve. And I just don't see I could see them maybe surprising and winning tag team titles, Ashanti and AJ Francis, but I see them vying for it, but not actually winning it.
Yeah, I think at the moment, short term, you see that sort of at the moment where they're big contenders but not quite winning it. You need to build yourself up in NXT to get to that level, and it feels right now that this will give Swerve that extra level he needs to go and try and win a championship. So I think you're right there. I think Swerve is the most likely at this point. I think the North American Championship will be the one in danger. Bronson Reed just won the belt, and I think he'll be a good holder of the championship. But I think now we can start using these mid-card guys, and one of them will eventually take the belt off Bronson Reed at some point down the line, maybe 3 to 6 months from now, I would say. But we're keeping things NXT then with Martin Carrillo says, whenever Johnny Gargano gets called up, should he be coming as a face or as a heel? I love the way, so I want that to stay put. I don't want to see them breaking up anytime soon. How about you, Martin? How about you, Anthony? Sorry.
So Johnny, right? I like the heel Johnny, but I feel like once a Vince gets his hands on him, he's gonna be just a joke. Like because you see how he's kind of playing the heel, but he's kind of goofy a little bit with him and Austin Theory and the rest of the way he's acting. I think Vince sees that, gets his hands all over that. He turns into 24/7 champion, jokey gimmick. I think if he comes up, I think he has to be a good guy, a face, and really be Daniel Bryan-esque underdog. Like I think that's his role. If Vince gets his hands on him, maybe he gives him that. I think if Vince gets his hands on the heel Johnny Gargano, who's a heel, but he's also kind of goofy, I think he becomes a joke at that point.
Yeah, there's always that risk there. I mean, like you say, that the Daniel Bryan connection there at the moment, that would work really, really well. So I can see that playing out. And I can see Johnny Gargano being a strong, mid-card, a strong mid-card champion, but I don't necessarily see him becoming a world champion anytime soon in WWE. So you have to be careful of how it was going to be done. I don't think Johnny Gargano ever will go to Raw or SmackDown. I think he's very happy in his role with NXT. So I don't see it personally happening. Do you think it will happen at some point in his career?
I think it will eventually. I think he's gonna want to be on that stage, right? Be at WrestleMania if he doesn't do it for NXT. I think he wants to be there. Now, the only thing he has an issue with, probably it can help and hurt him, is that he definitely has Triple H and Shawn Michaels backing him and in his corner big time, right? Guys like him, Adam Cole, Ciampa. Now that tends to hurt guys and it tends to help them as well. Because if remember hearing stories that Paul Heyman was chirping a lot for this guy. This guy's good. Push him. People there's a lot of politics going on in WWE backstage, so people get kind of tired of that. This guy keeps pushing this one dude. I'm gonna bury him, or I'm not gonna show him. So that could happen. I mean, he has a son-in-law, Triple H. Maybe he has a little more pull, but I know Shawn Michaels and Triple H are big Johnny Gargano guys, and that can help him and it can hurt him. But I think he eventually wants to hit that level and be on a WrestleMania card, and be there at the big event.
I have to see how it will play out and when it does do. But I think Johnny Gargano on a WrestleMania, I think sounds like a dream match scenario for me. I'd like it, particularly if it was against Daniel Bryan. I would love that even more. That personally would be a fantastic match to see. Nubico's first question then with us then. What's next for Asuka now she's no longer in the Raw Women's Championship picture? Write off TV or move her to SmackDown? I'm not interested in seeing her in another tag team title run, as neither am I, to be brutally honest. Anthony, how do you feel about Asuka right now? What's best for her?
I think it's best for her to take some time off, because her title run was booked so poorly, and most of her main roster run has been booked so poorly. I remember just Asuka NXT. You remember that so fondly. It was so well done, so well booked. The undefeated angle worked so well with her. It made sense because the style that she wrestled. Now she needs to take time off, get kind of repackaged, maybe freshen things up. Maybe go back to NXT. Maybe go to SmackDown. Either way, I think she needs to be repackaged, refreshened, and time off. Kind of makes the heart grow fonder. So at that point, when she makes a return, I think people will be genuinely excited for it. And when she makes a return, impactful. That's what it needs. That's the most important thing. Impactful and hit the ground running from that point.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I, for me, would like to see her on SmackDown. I'd like to see her as a heel. If it takes time off to make that impact coming back as a heel, where we kind of don't see that heel turn coming on night one, I think that could make a really strong point there. So, no, great question there, Noob. Thank you very much there for the first one. I know a couple more hopefully coming on. We are about 10 minutes behind, I think, at the moment on the questions. So we will catch up as quick as we can there for you. But Wrestling by Waldridge, shout as well from the UK there, getting in there before work tomorrow. He says, one more for him. Could Roman Reigns surpass Bruno at Sammartino's 8-year title reign or get close at all? Wow. It's hard in the modern era to see that happening, isn't it? But if one guy could do it, would it be Roman?
If one guy could, yeah, that's the only guy I could think of actually doing it. But I think he's closer to a Backlund run or a Hogan run, 4 years. Like that time for I wouldn't even complain if he was champion for 4 years straight. I would not complain. He is too good at this point in time. I think he's got at least minimum a 2-year reign in him, or one. Yeah, I'm going 2 years. I think SummerSlam, right? SummerSlam is his year anniversary, I believe.
Around that, yeah. It's the payback. So it's the week after, isn't it? Yeah.
So exactly. So I think he's got a 2-year run easily in him. Easily. I don't see anybody on that roster, not even close. Nobody touches him.
No, nobody does touch him at all. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it. Volta could be one, though. He's on 600 days currently. So he could be someone that could get to that Bruno Sammartino. But I guess maybe it wouldn't. Would it count if it's the NXT UK Championship? Perhaps it's maybe not seen as important to the worldwide audience, I guess. But I think Roman's doing a great job. And like you say, if he holds that title for a long time, we won't complain. And to think Vince McMahon probably is thinking, why didn't you think of that back in 2015? No. Never mind, never mind. Martin Carrera there says, what do you say about Cameron Grimes and Ted DiBiase's face-off? Where do you see it leading to? Well, Anthony, I'll let you take this one first if you don't mind. I've got a couple of ideas in mind.
Okay, so first off, I love Cameron Grimes right now. I didn't like him before, but the whole GameStop, Bitcoin, whatever Dogecoin thing he did, gimmick he's got going on, I think it's hilarious. I think it's awesome. I think it fits him perfectly. The Beverly Hillbilly kind of feel he has to it, awesome stuff. The Ted DiBiase face off, it was hokey, and that's what it was meant to be. I think LA Knight. I'm a LA Knight guy. I'm an Eli Drake guy. I like him. I think he has a tremendous look. Does he try to mimic The Rock a little bit too much in his promo style? Yes, but I think he's just tremendous. I think he has it. I think all this needs to lead into the $1 million belt being given to either one of these guys. I think that's the smartest thing to do. Whether now, don't keep it around too long where it becomes the FTW title, which is completely useless. Around Brian Cage, it's just useless, utterly useless. I think it should be a title that's actually meant to be a title that's defended every once in a while. It'll be a novelty title, but I think that's where it should lead to in the end. Because if they bring Ted DiBiase in, that kind of it comes with him, right? It's like the baggage he brings with him is that $1 million belt.
Yeah, I that's the exact ideas I had in mind there for you, and I think you say it perfectly. I like the idea of Ted DiBiase actually staying around as a manager for LA Knight as well. I think that would work really, really well. And like you say, it can't be like the FTW Championship, because in AEW, wins and losses matter, but the FTW Championship doesn't. That's what we know from AEW if you watch it each and every week. True. But no, for me, I really enjoyed the face-off. Like you say, it's supposed to be what it is. It's supposed to be a comedy, bit of light relief. I love the way the Cameron Grimes was like, you're like a role model to me. Like, I could actually like be nasty to people and they still like me because I had money. I love that. It was superb to watch. So no, I thought it was fantastic. I'd like it to involve where LA Knight benefits, perhaps maybe with Ted DiBiase in his corner. Maybe those two then with LA Knight and Cameron Grimes have a takeover match. That'd be quite fun to watch, maybe.
Yeah, the only problem is that like, Ted DiBiase can't be too much of the mouthpiece for them because they both can talk.
That's the thing, yeah. Both can talk, yeah. Both very strong talkers. And like you say, big fan of both. And LA Knight, yeah, like you say, from the Impact days, as Eli Drake was a big fan as well. And yeah, the guy's got money when it's those promos. I think he's got a very, very bright future ahead in NXT. Nubico, I think we're talking here about Retribution. I would change all the names and make them more menacing and evil and make the leader reveal by holding up McMahon's hostage, and Ali will reveal himself, and that's how you book Retribution. Wow. A McMahon being held hostage. It seems very almost corporate ministry-like, if I remember back in the day. Would you be a fan of that idea being brought 20 years later?
Yes, I am, because, all right, so that happened with Stephanie, right? They abducted her, ended up being, it was supposed to be Christopher Daniels, is what they said, right under the hood, but they ended up changing it to Vince McMahon. So with Stephanie and everything like that, it's out there. It's Jerry Springer-esque. Bring it back. Try it. I mean, at this point, Raw so bad that you might as well throw whatever you can against the wall and see what sticks, and just kind of keep it moving from there. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But that's a good idea. I mean, it makes sense because they were there to destroy WWE. So why not capture the person running it, or one of the people running it, the family running it, and do something with that? I think it would have been cool. It would have been something, whether it worked or it didn't, I don't think is as important as them actually trying to do something off the wall like that.
Absolutely. Saw before didn't work at all with Retribution. This idea is fantastic because the thing is, it's one of the McMahons. They're the heads of what this is. I was going to say head of the table there. It's not quite that, but literally head of the company. And I think it would have been a fun idea. This is creative. It's a good twist. It's certainly something that would have worked a lot better than what we saw. Noob, I think it's a fantastic suggestion because, like you say, Jerry Springer-esque. It's a bit wild, and we like that. It's almost like, dare I say, like Car Crash TV. That's what WWE was back in the day. It was always like that, and it was something wacky and wild, and you knew sometimes it was a bit, this is sports entertainment, but that's what we loved about it. And I think that's a great idea, and it's kind of bringing something of the modern, something of the old, bring it together, and something a lot of fans have not seen as well. So I think it would have worked. I really like that suggestion there, Noob. Fair play to you. And it goes on to say as well, the best way to end Slammiversary, the story, is that they're actually taking the Impact World title from Kenny Omega at the end of that show. I think that could be a suggestion because then it's almost like happy families at that point. But at the same time, do you think it'd be too soon for Kenny Omega as the belt collector to lose the championship?
It depends on what the end goal is for Kenny, right? And that belt collector thing he's got going on. Is he going for more titles, or is he kind of just staying put as where he's at right now? that would be the biggest factor, I think. But I just don't think them taking the title off of him at Slammiversary, I don't think it does. Is it the end of the partnership? Because again, the partnership really hasn't done much for Impact. So I don't really know him losing there, who benefits and where they go from it. So they could definitely go with it. But in the end, the partnership really isn't much of anything. So I guess by you taking it from him, the partnership effectively ends there.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. Like you say, how long do you keep that partnership going? I hope it goes to Bound for Glory, personally. I hope that Kenny Omega wins against, say, Eddie Edwards. Let's just throw a name out there. And then Samoa Joe reemerges, part of Impact times, and bring that championship back home. And it sets up that Bound for Glory main event there and then. So that's how I'd like to see it booked. But it definitely would be a happy ending if it was a Slammiversary as well there. Elijah Washington is in the chat room. Thank you, Elijah, for checking out the video. Sup, SCW, sup to you as well. And Martin Creo then asked, who is going to feud with Frankie Monet next? So she's teased herself around in a few rivalries. Where do we see? Who is the first one that's going to take on Frankie Monet in a rivalry in NXT, in your opinion?
I think maybe they go with Zoe Stark. Maybe I think that's probably maybe makes most sense. I mean, you're looking for like a babyface woman on the roster that's at that level to kind of face her. So maybe a Zoe Stark. Shotzi and Ember are in a tag. So do you take them out of the tag? One of them to face, Frankie Monet. I don't see a ton, but I do think that Frankie Monet at this point right now is kind of like the number one contender for the title because she seems like the most viable person to take on Raquel Gonzalez. But again, they're both heels. So how do you work that? I just think that Frankie Monet, sooner rather than later, maybe in the next couple of months, she's vying for that NXT Women's Championship. I just don't know who she facing between. My ideal probably Zoe Stark. You can't really do Toni Storm because it's heel. You can if you want to, but I think Zoe Stark's probably the best person for her.
Yeah, I think so. Zoe Stark is a good sort of feeder at that point, isn't it? Because she's she's established, but she's kind of that lower part. She's where Shotzi Blackheart was last year. Yes. Shotzi's moved up the ladder a little bit. Zoe Stark's in that role. I think actually NXT is missing a couple of baby faces on that NXT women's roster. Actually, I think it's very heel heavy at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. It is a lot of heels on that roster. Yeah.
They could probably do with turning Toni Storm face, actually, if in my personal opinion at this point, because I don't think the heel ones actually worked for her very well up to this point. But Jeff Samuel in the house, and thank you for your question. We have sort of touched on this question already about what's going to happen at Double or Nothing. Who do we want to see as the mystery in the Battle Royale? But we will just go over it very quickly, just one more time. I thought Andrade would be a good shout. Anthony?
Yeah, it's got to be something for me. It's got to be somebody from Impact. It has to be somebody from Impact that feels slighted by Kenny coming there and taking the title. And he's coming for Kenny's title. I think he's Moose, Swan, Eddie Edwards, any of those guys, Callahan, like you said.
I think it could work really, really well. So yeah, no, that will be very exciting if it happens. And we're both looking forward to Double or Nothing as well. And just to shout out as well, after this video, if you haven't seen them already, my Double or Nothing predictions are already Maniac UK Mex, and it's a fun live stream, so make sure you're going to check it out, but do it after this one because we've got a little bit of time to go yet and quite a number of questions to go through as well. And our next question coming from then, who do you think should win in Drew versus Kofi? He thinks that Kofi wins, but at the end Drew is mad. The lights out, Jinder Mahal comes back, his stable will attack, and that'll be a decent talking point to have the Drew McIntyre, Jinder Mahal rivalry kick off, and we get Bobby Lashley versus Kofi Kingston. Certainly feels very, very fresh. I think, first off, would you be a fan of that? And second of all, do you think it's more likely we get that or we get Bobby versus Drew?
I personally think Kofi Lashley might be the SummerSlam main event. I think that might be a SummerSlam main event. I think Jinder, I've been hearing a lot Jinder Drew, right? That's like I've been hearing that a lot, Jinder versus Drew. They're going to do it at SummerSlam. I think it's a good spot for Jinder to be in, taking on Drew. I think Drew wins that out, but I think Kofi and Lashley should be the SummerSlam main event. I think Lashley's going to win. I don't think Kofi's going to be champion again, but I do think that they should probably work it, and that makes a ton of sense. I think maybe Drew, or they may do a triple threat at Hell in the Cell, because they're not going to get the Hell in the Cell much. I think Cesaro and Rollins get the Hell in the Cell for the men. And I think they can do a triple threat, have an inconclusive finish to it, and then, or Jinder cause something happen so you get into Drew Jinder, and then Kofi Lashley at SummerSlam.
Sounds like an awesome idea to me, and I would be a big fan of that on SummerSlam as well. It does feel like a big time match there to do it. Like, if you put Kofi properly, that works really, really well. I had a very wacky idea. I do feel I like the suggestion, by the way, that we got in the question. I think that's good. Separate, fresh rivalries, so I really like it. But my prediction was a very wild that I came with last week. I didn't have a chance to put it in, make it into a video though. I did it on Jonesy's channel, so I'm going to talk about it here and using next week's match. So we've got Drew versus Kofi one more time. Bobby Lashley cannot get involved. Please don't let it be Mason T-Bar. Instead, we've got a New Day rivalry currently going on with RK Bro. So I think RK Bro should get involved if something happens with Kofi and Xavier earlier in the evening. We've got 5 men involved then. Somehow we get Braun Strowman involved, and it'd be the first time in 20 years. Let's have an Armageddon Hell in a Cell match, because we've not had 6 men in the cell. I'd like to see that happen again. I think it'd be fresh. I think it'd be fun. The only problem I've got with it, we do need Lashley versus Drew one more time. And unless you do that Money in the Bank, I think people need to see a break from Drew McIntyre. Be a fan of seeing an Armageddon Hell in a Cell match, Anthony?
Yes, definitely. That's a really good idea. I never thought about it, right? Like I never thought about like an Armageddon Hell in a Cell doing it again, and how would you work it? But it would make a ton of sense, right? It's a way to get a bunch of guys on the card, a bunch of guys in the big match. And, you know, if you wanted to swap the title, you could do it because there's 6 guys involved or 5 guys that aren't champion that can win it. And Lashley comes out unscathed pretty much in terms of like, looking strong. That would be awesome. I mean, that'd be cool because it'll be a lot of fun, right? The first one was fun, even though the bed of hay was what it was that Rikishi fell into. But it would be it's a really fun idea, a really fun concept for him to do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'd like to see it indeed. I think it would. We haven't seen one for such a long time. Weirdly enough, if you want to change the belt, it's a good way to do it. But the last time they did it, the champion retained, believe it or not. So that was Kurt Angle, of course, back in the day. Big boy, thanks, Johnny. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well, my man. Thanks for joining us here. And we've got Alicia Stansbury as well. Thank you for joining the stream. What are your thoughts on Alexa Bliss's pick, Larry Steve, passing? So devastating. Do you think that deserve another title reign? Feel like big babyface now because of this? Well, I don't know if anybody would go with the babyface run as of yet, but I would like to see Bliss go back as the goddess, perhaps as a babyface. Do want to say as well that the thoughts do go with Bliss at this difficult time. Of course, it's not animals; they are a big part of the family. So, of course, and Larry Steve, he wasn't very old. I think it was actually his birthday today. He was only going to turn 4, so very sad indeed there. But what are your thoughts on this, Anthony? Would you like to see Alexa Bliss have another title run, maybe turn babyface? What's next for Alexa Bliss? I'm assuming perhaps first off, she will get perhaps a week or 2 off TV.
Yeah, I think she will as well. Now, I think they shouldn't abandon the whole Alexa Bliss kind of gimmick she has now, right? I think she got rid of Lily, to be honest. Lily's kind of like cringe, but I think they should keep her that. And then since, you know, the Fiend Bray Wyatt's gone dealing with some issues himself, I think have her take that role. I think she should be the dominant woman on the roster because she'll play the Fiend, but the female version of the Fiend, and she'll take that role and she'll do the supernatural stuff. And I think it'll play well in the women's division, and they need a jolt, something like that. I just think her coming back as babyface should be held off for later. And I think when she does come back as the goddess babyface and back to that, I think it'll be awesome. But I think they shouldn't give up on this character just yet.
No, maybe there could be an idea because the Fiend isn't controlling her, but right now she thinks she's the one in control of this. But maybe slowly that character transitions back where she starts realizing, hang on, this isn't me. And after a while, maybe the goddess slowly transitions back over a course of 3 to 6 months. Maybe something like that could happen. But it seems like at the moment, Alexa Bliss has been teasing Reginald, even though we didn't see Bliss on Raw this past week. Do we think we're going to get something that's going to be involving, you know, Bliss and Baszler and Nia Jax, perhaps in the short term?
I think what they should probably end up doing is having like a handicap, and she squashes both of them, like just like some supernatural squash, and just get her over that way. And then you take her even more seriously at that point. She just squashed these two, and she's coming after Charlotte next, and she's coming after Rhea next. I don't know what the whole Reginald thing's about. Maybe that's the way to get to that point, or get to a point with Shayna and Nia. Or maybe, you know, she has a singles match against Reginald, like how Shayna's gonna have. You can see that going on.
Yeah.
Too.
Have to do be more some flops from Reginald and Raw before he gets probably quickly beaten by somebody. That's what we can see happening. Just to say here, by the way, I think this is revolving around Oscar. Nubico saying they have to agree with Anthony. Take time off TV will happen because she's playing the injury. Hopefully, live fans return, so fans in the women's division will be worried about actual storytelling, something we can get invested with Oscar. So that's a fun little analogy there. And yeah, I must say that I think a bit of time off TV probably wouldn't hurt. Eli Wax here, it says, what do you think about Cameron Grimes and LA Knight's feud? We have talked about it a little bit already, but in his opinion, that LA Knight wins, turn into the new ringmaster, aka Steve Austin, for the belt. Grimes goes mad and he turns broken. That'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it? But yeah, I like the idea of the transition and perhaps the connection of the ringmaster there, because of course Steve Austin was that in 1996. Do you think that Ted DiBiase could have that sort of, I don't know, that early momentum for someone before they get that big bump later in their career?
Yeah, I could see that happening for either of these guys, either LA Knight or Grimes. I don't think they'll go with the ringmaster like name, but maybe allude to it just a bit. But yeah, like I said, as we were saying before, I think that the $1 million belt should be involved somehow in this and be given to him and kind of have a similar mode of that. But again, like he can't be the mouthpiece completely because both guys can talk.
That's true. Very true indeed. And also, do we like Matt Hardy? I'm a fan of Matt Hardy. How about you?
Not the current incarnation of Matt, but I've really enjoyed Broken Matt. I liked, I think his name was Damascus when he was feuding with Chris Jericho and the whole Stadium Stampede. I just didn't like, he had the whole Mattaverse where he was going to do all like different versions of Matt. I think it would have been an awesome idea for him to come in and out of the characters, like that movie Split, right? When he had this multiple personalities, tremendous acting job. I think that would have been cool for Matt to kind of go in and out of these characters rather than doing the big money agent thing he's doing now.
I didn't mind it at the start, but the only thing I've got a problem with the current gimmick is that I think too many people are coming in and out. I liked it when it was just Private Party. Now we seem to be, we always pass the Butcher and the Blade around like the latest accessory toys. It feels like AEW's like action figures. Well, who can we pass them to next? They'll probably be with Jade Cargill and that other guy, the lawyer guy, probably in a few months' time. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind Matt Hardy. I think he's given a lot in his career, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens in AEW. But I think Jeff one day will join him in AEW, and I think that's where they'll finish things off. And yeah, I think that'll be quite nice to see if they do go down that avenue. Martin Carrillo, is WWE extending WrestleMania feuds just to bring a fresh start to shows when fans are back permanently? Interesting proposition there with that. Would you agree with that idea?
Yes, I think that's mainly what they're planning, especially on Monday Night Raw. I think they're biding their time until they have that weekend where they have, because they're talking about having new sets. There's rumors that John Cena might come back for that weekend or maybe more. I think they're waiting, and I think they're gonna go all out, no pun intended, for SmackDown and for Monday Night Raw, because I think they want to make a big, just a big statement. Fans are back. We're fresh. We're new. We're coming out hot out of the gate.
Yeah, I have to agree with you entirely there. And I hope that that is the case, because they've already put back shows like Money in the Bank. They're putting Hell in a Cell early this year. So let's see what they're going to do. Perhaps maybe when we get to that point, there will be fresh plans in place. And for Raw particularly, God, they need it. They need all the help they can get right now.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Chris Washington, what is next for Finn Balor? What we do, have him show up on SmackDown, face off with Roman, and also you can have a feud with Drew McIntyre and Raw. Well, we did speak on this at the start of the video, so again, we'll touch on this very quickly. But I said the idea perhaps Monday Night Raw would be a good place for him. But we liked the idea of SmackDown as well against Roman Reigns. Both feuds seem kind of fun, but to make it a bit fresh for those that have been with us for the long term, which one would you like to see most, on SmackDown against Roman or Raw against Drew?
I think SmackDown against Roman, if he comes in as a good guy, I think he can really play that underdog role and work from underneath in the match. But I also think his newfound intensity in his promos and his mannerisms as his current incarnation of Finn Balor in NXT works well with Roman and his cocky arrogance and his savageness.
Absolutely. I think these two can have an unbelievable feud. I think if I had a first choice, I would go with Balor and Lashley as my personal preference as a first choice one. Just not really for the storytelling side of things. I just think Roman's tied up with a lot of stuff on SmackDown, but I do love the idea of that feud. I think it'd be awesome to watch. But I just think that Raw needs Finn Balor right now more of the two shows, and maybe just give it that little bit of something just to give it a spark, especially when fans are going to come back, Finn turns up on that first show. I think it'll be kind of cool to see the Prince in Monday Monday nights. But going on to what we just talked about a second ago, Martin Correa does go on to say that now that WWE is coming back to touring again, will WWE make Battle of Raw with fans, or will the fans force WWE to make a Better Raw? I think it's going to be the fans that are going to force it. They're not going to tolerate as much of what's going on. But what do you feel?
Yeah, I think they'll try to do it on their own, but if it doesn't work, the fans are gonna force it, right? I think the fans might go into Monday Night Raw booing it from the start because of how bad it's been, and they might be surprised in the end, like, oh, this is a really good show. Maybe they're actually, trying to go all out for us because we're back, the fans are back. But I think either they're gonna come in doing it themselves, or the fans are gonna force them to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. If they don't do it themselves, like you say, the fans will be there to make sure of it. And the thing is, WWE can finally gauge what's working and what's not working. And if they couldn't already by looking at Twitter, we'll definitely tell them very, very quickly when we're back in the house. But also, who do we see Apollo Crews feuding with next? I think that there could be a potential Kevin. How do you feel?
Yeah, I do think he's gonna get a singles with Sami Zayn. Like, when it comes to Sami Zayn, I kind of want the Sami Zayn angle to end with there actually being an actual conspiracy. He actually gets to the bottom of it at the end, and he actually finds out, wow, there's an actual conspiracy, and he was right this whole time. And maybe that could turn him babyface and then take on Apollo at that point. I think he's gonna run the gambit with these guys. I think he's gonna go from Kevin to Sammy to Big E, Alistair. I think he'll run the gauntlet against these guys. I don't think he'll have one set feud. I think he'll just keep having opponents like that.
Absolutely, indeed. There, we've got quite a few questions in. We'll try and get to them as quickly as possible. Anthony, you good, my man, on the live stream right now to keep going for perhaps another 20, 25 minutes?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. That's cool. We'll get through as many as we can then for the next 20, 25 minutes, and then we'll see where we're at that point in the stream there. But Randy Sam is in the house. Thank you, Randy. He says that the segment with Dexter Loomis and Indy Hartwell, do you think the picture is Loomis going to get repackaged since he died in the storyline? What do you think? Well, he's clearly heartbroken. The dude is hurting. I mean, we've all been there, haven't we? We have an idea that we like someone. Yeah. Probably not as creepy as Dexter Loomis when you like someone, but we've all liked someone. We've all felt that rejection. Where is it going to lead to? Do we see a creepy, romantic, happy ending between these two? Or do we see Dexter Loomis perhaps be repackaged in some way? Or do we see something where Dexter Loomis is repackaged in some format, but Indy manages to bring back the Dexter Loomis that we know and love, maybe?
Yeah, he's a tortured artist, right? That's what he is. I was going to say the same exact thing. I think he comes back normal, and then Indy tries to get him back to where he was before. And I think that ends with like a creepy, awkward, hilarious wedding on NXT between the two of them, Indy and Dexter. That would be cool. Like a really awkward, because he's like the stuff he does is creepy and awkward. I think the wedding like that would be hilarious. But I think it'd be a good thing for him to come back normal, like he's trying to change for Indy, or Indy's changed him, and then she tries to bring him back. She parts way from the way, and then they eventually kind of get together and they do the wedding angle. I think that'll be funny because Dexter Loomis' character. And it'll be funny in terms of just the creepiness of a wedding and the awkwardness of it all.
I'd love to see that. I think it'd be awesome. And just to think as well, even if, say, Indy left the way, I could still see Austin Theory on the bachelor party. I think that'd be a fun watch as well. I think it could be good fun to watch. So yeah, we're booking that storyline there. I hope you guys like it in the comments, because I think that'll be a lot of fun. An NXT wedding, I don't remember seeing it. I think it needs to go down. I think that would be really cool to watch there. There's a lot of fun and still a lot of mileage left in that storyline. What do we think about WWE should do with Buddy Murphy? He's criminally underrated. Do you think that he should get a new gimmick or pair him as a tag team? What would you feel?
Yeah, he is. Of course, he's underrated and everything like that. I just don't know what they could possibly even do with him. Like, what kind of gimmick could he possibly have? I think his best bet, do a tag team. Seems to help a lot of guys out because they tend to bounce ideas off each other, and they can maybe eventually bounce off an idea, and he knows, maybe I could do that, and he eventually branches out on his own. I think that might be his best bet, because it's always good to bounce your ideas off someone rather than bouncing them off the wall. And I think it works out good for him to do that, because in honesty, what kind of gimmick could he actually come up with? Or I mean, he probably could, but like in reality, what could he come up with that actually give him a shot on the roster? I think a tag team might be his best bet to get a shot on the roster.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a tag team's the right way. It's a shame that Wesley Blake was let go, because they could have actually reunited that tag team. That would have been fun to see. But I agree. A tag team's probably the best way to go at this point. I just don't really know who I see as the partner. We can't really see him as a disciple for Aleister Black. We've already seen him do a disciple for Seth Rollins. But I'm sure there's someone on the roster that would make a good tag team partner somewhere down the way, and perhaps maybe an NXT call-up, maybe the one that perhaps is missing, helps Buddy out, becomes a tag team. They can get something flowing on SmackDown. Who knows? But Noob and Co. Will Charlotte and Rhea have a Hell in a Cell match at the end of the match? The lights will go off and Io Shirai will appear to get revenge on Charlotte Flair for writing Oscar off TV. It's an interesting storyline idea. I'm not sure, but you said earlier in the video that we think perhaps Cesaro and Seth Rollins right now would be a favoured match for Hell in a Cell. I still hope that we get Roman Reigns versus Jimmy Uso in Hell in a Cell in the same stipulation as we had last time, but for him and Jay. But we'll have to wait and see if that would go down. But do you think that this has got potential mileage to be a Hell in a Cell match? And what do you think of the idea of the storyline there at the end?
I think it does, because Bianca doesn't really have anything right now to warrant a Hell in a Cell for her. So Charlotte's been in them before, so it makes sense for her and Rhea to be in there. And yeah, I could definitely see like Io Shirai coming out at the end, doing something like that, a big appearance, because it'll give like a real big shot in the arm to Monday Night Raw in terms of the women's division. And maybe for the fact that she wrote Asuka for TV, I don't know if that might play into that, but I think her showing up. But again, that immediately puts her in the title picture, right? Like immediately puts her like at the top of the card for the most part, which I guess makes sense because it's not that deep of a roster on the Monday Night Raw roster anyways. But I do think in the end, Charlotte and Rhea have the Hell in the Cell match, because again, Bianca right now doesn't have anything that warrants it.
Yeah, I would agree. If there's one women's match that does, it's definitely on the Raw side of the two. And we need to start getting to that revenge from WrestleMania 36. That needs to be brought up in storylines almost. C. Williams with our next question now. Why are we getting Hell in a Cell? And I said because Cesaro versus Seth can be in a cell, but at the end, The Fiend attacks Seth. Remember Seth's segment, why is also mentioned. Of course, well, we've had an infamous Fiend and Seth Rollins Hell in a Cell match previously. I'm not sure if I want to see that again, if I'm brutally honest. But yeah, I mean, Cesaro versus Seth in a cell, this would be a good way to really put Cesaro over after losing on the last pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think so. I think it will be. It's a good way to get him kind of. I mean, he still looks strong, right? But you knew going in he wasn't going to beat Roman anyways. So get him this win here, so it keeps him kind of fresh going into maybe Money in the Bank or something like that. So he has stuff to still do afterwards and still be viable to win Money in the Bank. But I definitely think Seth and Cesaro is the Hell in the Cell match for the men for Hell in the Cell.
I think it'd be amazing if that match does go down. I think those two would do a fantastic job in the cell there. And yes, I don't want to see the Fiend there at the moment. He is still on Raw at this particular moment. So I hope when he does return, he does continue on the red brand, because the red brand does need him more right now, in my opinion. But Marta Guerrero, WWE did announce WWE fans back for Raw and SmackDown. And when is NXT getting their crowd back? Well, they kind of have a few people in the crowd there in the Capitol Wrestling Center. But when are we going to get it looking like the Full Sail did before? I mean, it's a good question.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure about that, because I don't really know with the whole Capitol Wrestling Center vibe they have, if they really need it, right? If they really need more of fans, or if they're even able to really kind of work it so they fit more fans in there. I think, to be honest, like NXT kind of like that's their, that's an afterthought for Vince McMahon right now in terms of touring and doing all that stuff like that. He wants to get the two main rosters touring, fans, that back, as get the gears moving on that, make sure it's well-oiled machine just like it was before, and then focus on NXT afterwards, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, the thing is as well, NXT is a smaller venue also, so perhaps maybe they have more leeway with the Raw and SmackDown when they do these tours, big arenas. I don't know. Is it going to be 100% full capacity, or is it going to be like a percentage capacity? Because I'm not sure of that at the moment.
Yeah, if they're doing it in Texas, so that's 100% capacity. I think when they move over to Florida, I think Florida's 100% as well. I think most of the southern states are pretty like almost 100% for sporting events.
That's good to know, because especially with Double or Nothing this weekend as well, of course, being in Florida, Jacksonville, so that will be a full capacity. So that's going to be very interesting to see, and hope everyone will be safe. Just SC Williams does actually say a couple more things about that idea there just now. The Fiend can finally get his revenge on Roman Reigns, because he never was one to forget. Of course, that's very true. So that could be something that could happen there as well. And also, that's where the Fiend can turn Seth face, because, of course, the Fiend does always seem to change a lot of the characters around, and that's where we could get our babyface turn from Seth. So that could be interesting to see. I mean, do you want to see Seth Rollins turn babyface?
Not right now. I want the two-man power trip. I want Rollins. Rollins and Reigns, two-man power trip, going after those tag titles as Roman's still the champion. I think that would be awesome to get the two together as a team, and then eventually Seth turns into a face.
I like that idea, especially as the Usos. Jimmy has to watch on by, just see
Yeah.
that as well. And the 2 mile power trip, just like Austin and Triple H 2001, glorious, glorious times. Elijah Washington, what do you think should happen with T-Bar and Mace in your opinion? Great question. I will just take this one and jump it very quickly. Just put them a Raw as a tag team. They are kind of like a throwback Powers of Pain. But you know what? I really liked the Lumberjack match. They had a stare off with the Viking Raiders, who are not getting enough TV time either, in my opinion. Put them in a tag feud. That'd be quite fun to watch. Would you agree, Anne?
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm totally cool with these two guys being a tag team. I just think they got to change the names. T-Bar and Mace to me is just it's not really working. I mean, I get what you're saying, like a Powers of Pain, like they could do that. Maybe they could just shorten up Dio Madden to something else, maybe Dio or something like that. Like the Rocker Dio. Or you could, maybe Dijakovic, like Dijakovic and Dio, or Dijakovic and Madden. That's the team name. T-Bar and Mace to me is just like, it's so ridiculous sounding that I can't get behind it. But yeah, them versus the Viking Raiders would be cool, and them as a tag team would be a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just the names that really need, you say, a bit of a touch up. But and stop saying some goofy lines when you're actually doing the promos. But they do have they have the look. They have the look going. They've now got rid of them horrible masks. So let's see where it goes from there. Martin Carrillo then says, "Who from the AEW roster do you see long term and short term with the company?" I mean, for me, I think you got to look at the younger talent. I mean, the younger guys that are young, like Jungle Boy, Orange Cassidy, MJF. All these sort of guys, Hangman Page as well. That I imagine they're probably the long term of the company, and it would be silly if they've not tied these people down. Short term, I suppose, would be some of these sort of perhaps either older guys or arguably outside big names that have come in that are looking to make themselves the top guy, but maybe are not getting that role. How do you see, and do you feel that's kind of the vibe? Would you say it differently?
No, I totally agree. I think Jungle Boy is the biggest star they have for the future. Like booking long term, I think because if you've seen his matches, the singles matches he's had, they've all been like tremendous matches. Just so much fire, so much. It's just a natural baby face, right? He has it's just like his dad. So it all flows together for him. I think he's the biggest star they have in terms of a good guy. MJF's the biggest star they have in the future now and in the future as a bad guy. Scorpio Sky, I still have such high hopes for Scorpio Sky. I think he could be a mega star. He has just a tremendous look to him, and I just think they've booked him terribly. But there's a couple guys there that for the long term, I think Brian Pillman Jr. is going to be an absolute mega star if he's able to continue to develop his game and get it to the next level. I don't think he shouldn't rest his laurels too much on his dad's styles and not try to fall too much on that. He should create his own, but I think he could be a mega star. Short term, I agree with you. Christian Cage, it's guys like that. Those guys that are just there right now. Jericho, Moxley, another guy's like short. Those guys are short term. There's not too much time left on them in terms of massive runs, and they could end up. I honestly could see John Moxley in 5 years going back to WWE.
Wow, that would be a big call if that was to go down there. And like you say, but that's the thing. That's that. These guys, they're the big names. If you want, arguably right now, will they beat in 5 years' time? That's the big question. Like you say, it could be a point where Moxley now doesn't become world champion anymore, goes down the pecking order, and eventually finds himself back in WWE. You wouldn't be so surprised to see it. So yeah, it could be very exciting to see how it's going to go down. Just to say, we've got loads of questions in. We're going to go for about 15 more minutes. So I want to say at this moment, probably only. We'll try and get for as many as we can. If you put questions in from this point onwards, there is a risk that it might not make the stream because we do have a number of questions that still are in. So just to say that there, that way we make sure that, I don't keep Anthony on here all night, which I'm sure he doesn't mind deep down, but just in case, that way we make sure we get to answer all the questions that we do have on. It says at the end of Raw, Shayna Baszler, this is Ricky Glow, by the way. Welcome, Ricky. I believe your first question here on the stream. It says end of Raw, Shayna Baszler snapped. And did you get that Lily vibe to get her or not? If Alexa is to control Shayna Baszler to get Nia Jax, can Alexa get a heel glove on Shayna too? That's interesting. Is it the fact that Shayna's had enough, or is it the fact that actually deep down Alexa does have control of this breakup?
Maybe she's manipulating. She could like have a mind control, or not mind control, but she's creating the issues between it, right? So like, what's her reasoning to attack Reginald, right? Maybe it could be to that, to kind of break up that team and get Shayna on her side as kind of her Diesel to her Shawn Michaels, kind of set up her bodyguard type of thing. I could definitely see it go down. Definitely makes sense.
It would make sense. I think it's actually a really fun suggestion that's been given there, Ricky. Thank you for that. Danny Baroness says, with the rumours of NXT UK, 5 people, 4 people, who would you like to see called up? He actually would like to see the grizzled young veterans to face the Mysterios. I love the grizzled young veterans. Great suggestion. So if people are going to be called up, I mean, well, it's hard with all the numbers. There's a lot of numbers there to call people up. I mean, I think personally, you need to call people up that actually going to have a role on WWE TV, not just call numbers up. Personally, they need to have a purpose. But if you were to think of a few names that would actually work from NXT UK, what names would you like to see?
Grizzly and Vets, I think definitely is one team that can go up and make an immediate impact. I think top of my head, Santos Escobar is a guy definitely come up, make an immediate impact. If they wanted to pull the trigger on it, I don't think they will because he's there. UK, I only really see maybe Tyler Bate maybe coming over, but even that, I'm not even confident that he'll get used properly on the main roster. It's a lot. I think most of them are going to be the women. I think maybe like Io Shirai, maybe somebody else on top of that. I just don't see much. I mean, to be honest with you, it doesn't seem like a lot of it's plausible to me. I could see LA Knight being jump shot to the main roster and they just kind of cancel the DiBiase thing. I could definitely see that happening. Vince just be like, I want LA Knight, send him up. DiBiase thing's over. I could definitely see that going down. But off the top of my head, there's not a ton that I can see happening that seems super viable. Grizzly and Vets, yes. I could see Ciampa and Thatcher coming up too. I can see that happening. That I just don't see much in terms of that.
Yeah, it's interesting how it will go down. I mean, speaking of some names we talked about in this, Finn Balor, I think would make sense. Io Shirai is probably a likely favourite that could happen. I'm not sure if I'd be a fan of it. But one from NXT UK that I wouldn't mind seeing if she ever lost the championship would be Kylie Ray. I wouldn't mind seeing that go down because she's definitely got something to offer. She's always been booked so strongly in NXT UK and NXT itself. So I think that she would definitely have a good run. And the grizzled young veterans almost wanted to do it in a good old Scouse Liverpool accent there for a second, but I resisted for this stream. I think that would be a great shout against the Mysterios. Wouldn't mind seeing that go down. Just say I probably wouldn't do that Scouse accent very well either, just if anyone was wondering. Elia Washington. What should happen with John Morrison now? And he says nice WWE logo. Who would you like to see face Edge at SummerSlam? Perhaps Edge and Roman, or perhaps we could get Edge and Seth. What would you like to see?
John Morrison, correct?
John Morrison first, and we'll take on with Edge's opponent at SummerSlam next.
Yeah, I think Miz's injury. I mean, it sucks that he got injured for Miz itself. It's the first time I think he's ever got a major injury, which is amazing. It's an amazing accomplishment to not get hurt like that entire time he's been there. I think it's the best thing for John Morrison because he gets out of that grouping, and I think he can be a viable mid-card United States champion and maybe eventually go for the WWE championship. I think he's just so talented. There's so much potential there for him to actually do something of importance in WWE, which he really never really has. I think that'll be cool. And Edge at SummerSlam, I don't really know why he's been gone. I'm not really sure what's going on. But I could definitely see Edge Roman. Yeah, definitely. I could just definitely see that. I could definitely see Edge versus Roman, maybe a cash in afterwards, cash in on whoever wins the match at the end. Yeah.
That would be really exciting to see if that was to go down. I think Edge and Roman makes a lot of sense, but I actually think that we could get Edge and Daniel Bryan if Daniel Bryan was to return, because we could actually get a closer on that storyline, and maybe Edge then perhaps a heel-sided Edge would then probably want to go after Roman Reigns. But if Rollins does turn babyface, I want to see all the matches. Can I be greedy? Do a fatal four-way. I don't care. I want to see everything. And Johnny Drip. I mean, let's just hope he gets booked solid. I would like to see him have a nice mid-card run. I think that the guy is talented, and like you say, the Miz, credit to him, he's never been injured up to this point. This is the first injury in such a long time. It is a shame of how it's gone down, but let's hope Johnny Drip doesn't fall to the wayside, and hopefully it's the last time on this stream that I said the words drip. Noob and Co then. Poor Dexter Lumis is pretty much dead inside. I blame Johnny Daddy for it. I believe Dexter might kill Johnny for NXT. Well, the storylines there just get crazy and crazy. And you know, I wouldn't be against the idea of that doing something quite fun and wacky. And you know, Ali was actually killed off Impact Wrestling when she left the company. Would that be a fun way to just kill someone and then bring them to the main roster?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. He abducts him, he buries him alive, and then he appears on the main roster, Johnny Gargano, afterwards.
Yeah, that would be quite fun. And also, we've got keeping a lot of Dexter Lumis questions coming in now. And it's his last one here from Randy Sam saying that they do like the Lumis and Indy. It's kind of like Kane and Lita. But at the end, perhaps we could have Indy turn on Loomis and be in love with LA Knight. Will fit it perfectly. Of course, LA Knight did say that at one point that Indy should be in love with a guy like him a few weeks ago on NXT. Would it be a fun twist to see something like that? But I kind of feel that we will get, let's say, a happy end to the story if there's such thing possible.
Yeah, I think they'll do the happy ending because they did already. Like he got stabbed in the heart already, right? They just did that.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they'll do it again. I think they'll go with the happy ending. Now, if they hadn't done that, maybe then I could have seen it happening.
Poor sausage otherwise. Someone will have to actually introduce Dexter Loomis to Tinder or something if it doesn't work out a second time. But there you go. Martin Correa there, he's going to give his final question of the stream there. And should WWE bring a champion from NXT to destroy a big name from the main roster like how Kevin Owens came up? Who is more fitting for that spot? And it doesn't matter if it's a male or female. I think this is a very interesting question because, like I say, that made Kevin Owens feel like a very big deal very quickly. Who would be the one if someone was to come up and do that?
I think Karrion Kross. I think because he fits the same role as KO because he was NXT champion when he did that stuff, and I think it makes sense for Kross to do the same thing. Come up, barrel through some guys, some big names. Maybe he takes on AJ Styles from the start, or maybe he takes on somebody else of a big name value. Maybe Drew McIntyre as soon as he comes in, like a John Cena type. Not that level, but similar. And he does the same thing like that. A female, maybe I guess you would think Io Shirai. But she hasn't been seen in NXT for just a decent amount of time. So if she was still currently in NXT doing some matches, comes up, takes out Charlotte or Rhea, I think that could work for her too. So I would have to pick Io or Karrion Kross.
Not to be a copy, but I think Karrion Kross makes a lot of sense on that. I think the dominant champion idea there, and I think Raquel Gonzalez would be potentially one you could do for the women, potentially.
True.
But I think Karrion Kross feels like the best fit there. And instead of KO, we do it KK. Why not? Dan Bradley here for us there, and he said, will he turn into Orton 2.0 to face Orton, like a passing of the torch moment at the end? What do you think? I mean, that could be a fun direction of the story. I love the RKO, by the way, this week from Riddle. I love the fact that he seems to be organically learning. He's like a sponge with the Viper. It's almost like, yeah, it's really cool to be teaming with Randy Orton, but I'm here to learn as well. There's something I'm going to really gain out of this. And you can see there by using the RKO this week was a really fun twist. Actually, was doing that pose at the end as well. I really enjoyed this with Riddle, and they could really play this out long term as tag team champions, maybe Rise of WrestleMania, maybe even the RK Bro. That could be literally the finishing move at the end if Riddle breaks up with Orton and takes the RKO. There's a lot of different ideas. Anthony, how are you feeling with Riddle right now? What's next in the chapter for you?
I think Riddle may be going, I hope so, a little bit more serious with Randy. I think they'll do the funny stuff between the two. I like them as a tag team. I think it'll be smart to keep them as a tag team. Have the straight face guy, straight lace guy in Randy, right? He's stoic. He doesn't laugh a lot. And you have the jokester in Riddle. So I think that's a cool dynamic between the two. But I think eventually Riddle needs to become more serious. And I think because he has that MMA background, he's dressed like an MMA fighter. He needs to have a more serious tone to him and a more serious, just overall presentation. I think that will end up happening to Riddle at the end of this.
Yeah, I think that's quite a likely idea as well. And he does say as well that he likes Rated Bro as well. Maybe that could be an idea if you want to rebrand the channel there. It could be an idea, perhaps, who knows. But he says that he likes RKO Bro as well. But Noob & Co. Has Asuka accomplished all that she can in WWE? Is it time for her to retire from wrestling? Because I heard from a lot of people that she needs to be let go or be released. Well, in my personal opinion, madness. Anyone that says it should be released, I think she's still one of the top women's wrestlers in the world. But has she accomplished all there is to do in WWE? I mean, arguably she has. She's won all the championships, Money in the Bank, won the Royal Rumble. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, she could put other superstars over. She still is looking for, I think, for a big defining WrestleMania moment as well. I think that's still missing off of the ticket. She's had some great matches involving at WrestleMania, but to have that big win, I think that's what she still needs. How do you feel, Anthony?
Yeah, I think she's still got a lot left in the tank in terms of what you can do there. There is that thing, right? Like, you've done everything. What do you do next? There's always stuff to do next. You just got to reinvent yourself. Look how long The Undertaker's been around or was around, right? And Jericho, he's done everything as well. He just continues to reinvent himself, change things up. If she can do the same thing and find things that work out for her, she can stay around for a while and continue to have big moments. But yeah, you're right. She is missing that big moment in WWE. She never really had it. It was the Royal Rumble, and then she lost to Charlotte. That would have been the moment if she would have beat Charlotte there.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed. No, you're right there. That was the big moment there where it all started to go wrong after that moment. That was the point where it happened there with that WrestleMania loss to Charlotte Flair. So no, I'm with you on that one. And we are now down to our last few questions. So thank you everyone that has been checking out the stream, and just stick around for the last few because we've got some very good questions to come in. And Joe Dawn is one of them here, and he says, for Hell in a Cell, I would do Kofi versus Lashley versus Drew, but at the end just a swerve. Woods turns on Kofi to help Lashley. Kofi wasn't on Woods' corner. So Will Woods, what Woods would do would be shocking. It certainly would be a big shocking twist. Would we ever want to see Kofi versus Woods as a rivalry?
Yes, I think so. I think, yeah, because like the New Day is nothing. They've done everything. What do they do next? You got Big E's. Each guy's gonna go on the solo thing. So why not do the Xavier solo thing as well? Now we might as well. And then it only makes the reunion of New Day bigger because all three of them are separate from each other. And I think it'll be smart. I think that booking right there makes a lot of sense. He helps him, turns on Kofi, helps Lashley. He could run with Lashley for a little bit. I think it'll help Xavier. And I think it makes a ton of sense. It really does make a ton of sense.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense as well. Just to add a bit something more to it as well, bring the King of the Ring tournament back, give Xavier Woods the win, keep that feud with Kofi and Woods going until the draft, bring Big E over, start the feud working on there. If we can work it towards WrestleMania, New Day triple threat match, that could be quite fun to watch as well. That definitely would be. If you could idea of a strategy, but maybe if it could be booked that long. We've got Alicia Stansbury here. Babyface Sasha Banks versus heel Becky Lynch. Money for SmackDown champion history there. To see, but I do think they'll probably have the roles reversed on face and heel at this particular moment. But certainly would be a big money match if it was to be done either way.
Yes, I don't like Sasha as babyface, to be honest with you. I think she's just a natural heel, works perfectly as a heel, has little subtleties that she does. I always call back to when she made the little girl cry in NXT against Bayley. Like that stuff right there, that's awesome heel work from her. Making kids cry, right? Like that's awesome heel work, and her doing that was super smart. And I think, yeah, the roles will be reversed. Babyface Becky. I don't really think Becky can really turn heel anytime soon. So whenever she does come back.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed. No, I agree that. I think when Becky comes in, it's going to be screaming babyface. Everyone's going to be so pleased to see her back. So, Martin Guerrero did say thanks for giving his questions, and a shout as always. Really appreciate a good talk. Thank you very much, but it's always good to have you involved here. Alex Radford, we've got a few questions and Alistair Black, and then we've got two more after that to finish. So we are near the end now. Thank you everyone for your questions. We'll just take these last few that are in now, and that will take us to the finish. And did we see Alistair Black's mask? Can that be his mask to take down Big E? But why Big E though? Because E losing won't hurt him. He is a future world champion. So yeah, what are your thoughts then with Aleister Black's return, and what are your thoughts with this potential feud with Big E?
I think it's cool about Aleister Black is back. I want to see what the new gimmick ends up really kind of becoming, and what the whole premise of it all is really in the end when it kind of clarifies everything. The problem is he takes on Big E, right? So he has to win the feud out because he just came back. So it's a tough spot you're in right there. I wish he would have came in and maybe hit somebody else like KO. KO can take the loss right now because he's not really doing a ton. Big E's more the guy you're building to an eventual championship. And I just think the timing is a little off on this.
I feel the timing seems a bit off on it as well, but like you say, it does feel kind of a big time rivalry. I like that Black's come into this role rather than being against a load of jobbers. It feels like this is a big money match. He's got a prominent position on the card. I love the contact in the eye, by the way. Long-term storytelling, anyone, after that eye for an eye thing last year.
Yeah,
I do have to give a little bit of credit for that where it's due. Their SmackDown, I have a bit more faith in their booking team, I must be honest there. But Alex Rufford say he did say that because Aleister Black can do something different than The Fiend, but he wouldn't mind seeing Aleister Black changing people like The Fiend did on SmackDown. It would be interesting to see if something like that could happen. But then obviously you don't want to see too many characters be the same. It would take the uniqueness away from The Fiend, I do think. But Alex Shepard does go on to ask one more question here about Aleister Black and who is the Dark Father. Will it be a new alter ego for Aleister Black or someone dark like a manager, similar to like a Paul Bear did for back in the day for The Undertaker, for Aleister Black? That you know, it could be an awesome idea if it was to be like a manager role, or would it be another superstar? Who would you like to see to be this Dark Father if there was to be a reveal? It seems like a really fun question, this.
Yeah, I read it, popped right in my mind right now. Christopher Daniels.
Yeah,
that's the guy who should be the Dark Father, is Christopher Daniels. They just broke up SCU. What if he leaves, comes to WWE, and he's the Dark Father of Aleister Black? I mean, the age, I don't know how you play it, but I think it'll be pretty cool. Maybe it's not a an actual father, like, you know, he's my dad type of thing, but a father of like maybe a parental type of guy somebody who's guided Aleister Black throughout his life, something like that.
I think that's a really cool suggestion there. And I mean, I can't think of a decent name off my head, but like you say, the idea of that mentorship, a legend in some format, someone that's had that darkness. Do you know what? Why not? I've got one that's popped to my head. Gangrel. Why not Gangrel? That could be a fun one. They almost be a bit like Brood, like we could see the blood spewing out on SmackDown. And the New Day did the music a few years ago. It's one of the best entrance music from back in the day. So yeah, that's going to be my shout there. Rated R, Money in the Bank winner this year, Aleister Black or Jeff Hardy for the women, Oscar or Shayna Baszler. Would you like to see any of them as Money in the Bank winner? If not, who do you want to see?
I think Shayna needs it the most. To be honest with you, if anybody I can think of, Shayna probably needs the Money in the Bank the most. I think it'll give her a real jolt. She needs something after just this debacle between her and Nia Jax being a tag team. I think, yeah, probably if I had to pick any woman on the roster, it would probably have to be Shayna, unless they want to give it to maybe Charlotte. I don't think she's ever won one, right? And I don't think Sasha's ever won one. So if they want to just kind of give the accomplishments out like that, they can give it to one of them. But I think Shayna probably makes the most sense.
I think Shayna makes a lot of sense for that. I can see that going down there. For the men's one, I still say I want Kevin Owens to win it just because of the fact I want KO to actually, win the championship again. I think it would help him out. But like you said, he's not doing a lot right now, so I can't necessarily see it. But just a very quick one here. We've got a couple more people on House West Coast podcast and official TNT 2K as well. And just a quick one here as well, saying James Mitchell as Aleister Black's manager. That could be a fun twist. We talked about that a second ago.
Yeah, it could. I'm still picking Christopher Daniels because I just want it to happen. But that'd be pretty cool too. I mean, somebody that has like that kind of look to them, right? That just fits that dark father kind of name.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed. There, absolutely. And we're now down to the final two questions. Then Aleister Black though takes the title off of Apollo Crews, and when Finn Balor comes up, you've got the feud of them two. Now that would be a feud, wouldn't it? Finn Balor as the Black, you'd want to see it.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that feud. Those matches are just be off the walls. Like that would be really, really good stuff. I mean, you could even do the Demon and whatever like Dark Father thing Aleister Black wants to bring out. You can have a real like cool monster match kind of thing going on there.
That would be absolutely amazing. Yeah, you've got it down to a T then. Final question then for us then. Noob & Co. wants closure between Oscar and Charlotte because it's been a rematch and we need that finale between Oscar and Charlotte at WrestleMania next year or two. Well, we've had a lot of matches between these two. We do need that closure, that one big match. Where is the right place, when and where? Please don't say Monday Night Raw for the next 15 weeks.
I mean, that's probably what it's going to end up being is Monday Night Raw for the next 15 weeks. But I personally think WrestleMania 2 years down the road.
Yeah, I think 2 years down the road as well. I think give them a break and then do it. I think that is the way to do it. But just as a final comment here, it wasn't Daniels the Fallen Angel, makes sense. And Fiend versus Finn again. Yeah, we'd like to see that again there as well. We're talking about the idea of the Demon as well. That could be a good way to bring that in there. But that's all the questions there for us. Thank you so much, everyone that has been involved. It's been a lengthy stream once again. But Anthony, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been amazing to have you here. Just for anyone that wasn't here at the start, just give them a little bit of detail about your channel once again and where they can go and subscribe to you and what's coming up.
Yeah, Steve, thank you for having me again. I really do appreciate it. It's awesome collabing with you all the time. You, Jonesy, Barry, you guys are like the main crew of guys I always collab with. But yeah, Rated R for Wrestling, dropping reviews for all the AEW and WWE shows along with my brother and the Rated R for Wrestling studios. Make sure you check those videos out. We have a cool setup and a cool virtual studio that we do it in. News and rumors in wrestling every Monday through Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. I drop the occasional topical video. Check out my problem with AEW video, the AEW Impact partnership not working video. Will Vince open the forbidden door? And I would have to say my best video yet that I'm extremely, extremely proud of. That's dropping hopefully tomorrow or Thursday. I'm sorry, Thursday or Friday. It's the Shawn Michaels, the 90s versus 2000s. Which Shawn Michaels run is better? I think that's going to be like, I'm super proud of that one, just to be honest with you, of me editing it. I'm just super proud of the whole process of me making that video. So when I do drop it, please do check it out. And yeah, just check out the channel and I really do appreciate it.
It's some fantastic videos on there, and I really can't wait to see that one in particular. It should be an amazing one. I'll probably be front row and center with my popcorn for that one, waiting for that one. And I love the setup, by the way. Like you said, you got that sort of virtual kind of studio thing with things in the background when you're there. We're doing the Raw reviews and stuff. Hopefully, one of these days, you never know, we might even see some of our faces popping up on some of them screens. You never know if we're lucky.
I do have the missing persons Keith Lee poster up there. So if you see Keith Lee, please call us and let us know where he is because we miss him.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. I thoroughly enjoyed that when that came on, man. That was so much fun. But that's all from us anyway. Go and check out Anthony, Rated R for Wrestling. I'll put the link in the description right now as well, so you go and subscribe to his channel. Thank you for watching as always. You've been watching SCW Live, and we'll see you guys next time. All the best, and make sure as well to check out my AEW predictions for Double or Nothing, which are also on the channel right now.